The Joint International Commission for Theological Dialogue between the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church was established by the Holy See in 14 autocephalous Orthodox churches. Background. For Catholics, the convocation of the Second Vatican Council, at which Orthodox observers were present, marked a new beginning. A positive evaluation of the Eastern tradition is found in the Council documents, especially Unitatis Redintegratio. Most importantly, it clearly states that the Orthodox are churches, in the full sense of the word, and that they have valid sacraments. This laid the foundation for the development of an ecclesiology of communion and the notion that Catholics and Orthodox are sister churches. This coincided with the development of what became known as the dialogue of charity, a process of learning to trust one another again, a necessary precursor of any fruitful theological dialogue. In January 1964, Pope Paul VI and Patriarch Athenagoras I of Constantinople met for the first time in Jerusalem. On December 7, 1965, in Rome and Istanbul, they simultaneously proclaimed the lifting of the mutual excommunications of 1054, declaring them erased from the memory of the Church. These steps were the prelude to the establishment of the Theological Commission by Pope John Paul II and Patriarch Demetrios I of Constantinople in 1979. Plenary Sessions. The Commission's first 10 years of work reflected the growing consensus between the two communions and saw the publication of 3 agreed statements on such issues as the relationship between the Trinity, the Church and Eucharist, the sacraments of initiation and the connection between common faith and sacramental communion, and the theology of the ordained ministry. The Commission has held the following plenary sessions. First, Patmos in Rhodes, Greece, the mystery of the Church and the Eucharist in the light of the mystery of the Holy Trinity. Second, Munich, Germany, the mystery of the Church and the Eucharist in the light of the mystery of the Holy Trinity. Third, Crete, Greece, faith, sacraments and unity of the Church. Fourth, Bari, Italy, faith, sacraments and the unity of the Church. Fifth, Valymo, Finland, the sacrament of order and the sacramental structure of the Church, with particular reference to the importance of the apostolic succession for the sanctification and unity of the people of God. Sixth, Freising, Uniatism. Seventh, Bolimand, Lebanon, Uniatism, method of union of the past and present search for full communion. Eighth, Emmitsburg, Maryland, USA, ecclesiological and canonical implications of Uniatism. Ninth, Belgrade, Serbia, the ecclesiological and canonical consequences of the sacramental nature of the Church, conciliarity and authority in the Church at 3 levels of ecclesial life: local, regional and universal. 10th, Ravenna, Italy, the ecclesiological and canonical consequences of the sacramental nature of the Church, ecclesial communion, conciliarity and authority. 11th, Paphos, Cyprus, the role of the Bishop of Rome in the communion of the Church in the first millennium. 12th, Vienna, Austria, the role of the Bishop of Rome in the communion of the Church in the first millennium. 13th, Amman, Jordan, primacy and synodality in the Church. 7th Plenary Session. The 7th Plenary Session took place from June 17 to 24, 1993. The theme of this session was entirely focused on the theological and practical questions presented by the existence and pastoral activity of the Oriental Catholic Churches. The dissolution of the Soviet Union and the attendant collapse of the Warsaw Pact in Central and Eastern Europe brought about profound changes, involving the rebirth of religious liberty and the resumption of open pastoral activity by the Oriental Catholic Churches. The session declared that these changes had made these questions the touchstone of the quality of the relations between the Catholic and the Orthodox Churches. In particular, the question of uniatism became the focus of attention. The document of the Joint Dialogue Commission on the theme, Uniatism, Method of Union of the Past, and the Present Search for Full Communion, declared the following: With regard to the method which has been called Uniatism, it was stated at Freising that, we reject it as method for the search for unity because it is opposed to the common tradition of our churches. Concerning the Oriental Catholic churches, it is clear that they, as part of the Catholic communion, have the right to exist and to act in answer to the spiritual needs of their faithful. 8th Plenary Session. The 8th Plenary Session of the Joint International Commission for the Theological Dialogue between the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church was held in Emmitsburg, Maryland, USA from July 9 to 19, 2000. The theme discussed at this plenary session was the ecclesiological and canonical implications of Uniatism, based upon the preliminary document, prepared in Aricia, Rome by the Commission's Coordinating Committee, a subject which had assumed particular importance since the changes which occurred in Central and Eastern Europe over the 10 years prior to the meeting. The Joint International Commission had been particularly concerned with this question since its 6th plenary session in Freising in 1990 and in its 7th session in Balamand in 1993. Documents touching upon theological aspects as well as practical guidelines were issued by the Joint Commission in these meetings. Although reactions were generally positive, the documents were met with some reservations and even outright opposition, sometimes from both sides. 9th Plenary Session. The 9th Plenary Session of the Commission was held from the 18th of September to the 25th of September 2006 in Belgrade, Serbia. The theme discussed was conciliarity and authority in the Church. Following the session, Pope Benedict XVI visited Patriarch Bartholomew at Fano on 30 November 2006. 10th Plenary Session. The 10th meeting took place in Ravenna, Italy from October 8 to 14, 2007.